All right. Where do you want to start? You want to start with something Israel or something satisfying and fun? Do you want dessert for sometimes? You never know. We could be dead by the end of the hour. One of us could drop dead from a heart attack by the end of the hour, and then you'd be like, but I didn't even have dessert. So sometimes you want to start with dessert. Yeah. I actually have a friend who taught me this, and I love this. And we'll go out to dinner, and he'll say, hey, I want to have the steak and potatoes and blah, blah, blah. And I also want to have the chocolate lava cake, and I'd like to start with that. And they always laugh. And he's like, no, I'm serious. You want to have that as dessert? Yes, but I want it as an appetizer. Oh, okay. And they always look at me like, is he joking? And I'm like, no, he's dead serious. And he'll have that. And he's a skinny guy. And he'll have that. And the first time we went out and he did that, I said, what are you doing? He's like, I could be dead by the time we got to dessert. I want to make sure I have the chocolate lava cake. I think that is the greatest. So we could all be dead within the hour. Do you want to start with something fun, or do you want to start with something important?
Start with dessert.
Start with dessert. Here it is. Now, I want to tell you that it's with a heavy heart that I do this. It's not with glee.
No.
That I do this. It's not that there is satisfaction here. I actually can make you feel better about this in case you feel really bad for Alec Baldwin.
We've actually played the shorter version of this, but I asked Sean Hannity's people if they had the longer version, which they did, and they were nice enough to send it to us. This happened a couple of years ago at WPHT in Philadelphia when Alec Baldwin was battling with talk radio hosts, including Sean. And he was thinking how easy the job must be. And I asked for a tryout, or PHT asked to put him on. I don't remember the genesis. But they put him on one week at night. and what ensued was
hilarity.
Nothing short of one of the tastiest broadcast events of all time.
Here's the thing. There, talk radio, it seems like it's really, really easy, but it's really hard. It's actually really hard. I've done every kind of media except fire dancing and smoke signals. So I think I've done all of it.
You did do smoke signals at that one picnic.
You're right. I did. So we've done all of it except the fire dance. And I will tell you that talk radio is the hardest art form to be able to manage. It is really difficult, as you're about to hear, when somebody who is famous thinks, well, I'll just go on and I'll just talk. How hard could it be?
World-renowned actor. This is going to be cake.
This will be easy. I just go on, I talk, and then I take phone calls. Here's what happened.
When we come back, we have some time. Oh, great. We're going to, when can we take some calls, Ivan?
Whenever we want.
Do we have calls that are on there now?
No calls yet. No calls yet.
What number do people call to get on the air, Ivan? Do we have that number?
It's right there.
Oh, do I have the call number in front of me? Oh, I'm so sorry. That's interesting. Interesting. At 12:10 at PHT. Of course, any other questions you have, any other comments you have, call us to the... What else? Call us, please, at 215-1210.
It is.
Now, if you don't call, we're going to keep reading from the Scientology manual. You might not feel it. You might not feel the energy right now. You might not feel
we do.
The swell of what's happening here. Do we have any calls yet there, Ivan? No calls. Let's read some more about Scientology. Is Sean Hannity a Scientologist? Alec Baldwin posing the big questions tonight here. Do we have any calls here yet, Ivan? None. Boy, it's just incredible. Unbelievable. Well, you leave us no choice, listeners.
It is edited because this goes on for something like 10 to 12 minutes, and then he calls his mom because nobody calls. And so this goes on and on and on, and it's some of those uncomfortable, painful listening you've ever tried to get
I think that there's
through.
a good chance that the listeners at PHT were not calling just to listen. Yeah. They're like, I gotta listen to this guy just squirm.
That's
what's
fantastic.
Great
Great about talk radio listeners.
It really is.
Yeah.
Remember, Jeffy, when we first started, and I went home one time. I went home when I first started, 3 months into it, and I said, I can't do this job. I said, honey, I've done hard work before. I warned you, Pat, when you first got into it.
Oh, man.
I said, I've done hard work before. I've never worked this hard in my life. I don't think I can do this job.
That's where I was, too.
Yeah, and I said, the listeners are brutal.
Yeah.
If you're not informed, if you don't know what's going on, if you're a fraud at all and say, I pretend I can't like this, they'll kill you. They'll kill you.
They'll bring up points you made 8 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
And a completely offhanded comment and say how it's inconsistent with what you just said.
Yeah, it's really hard. And then they'll rip. And I remember, the talk radio chat rooms, when that was, first kind of, circulating, led, surprisingly, by a guy named Jeff, but Jeffy told me it wasn't
who that
him.
is.
Yeah. But they said, pack your bags, you're done, you'll never make it. And I told my wife, I said, I don't think I'm going to make this. I don't think I can do this job. And so people don't know how hard it is. And that's coming from a guy who was in radio, which in and of itself is a difficult. I did morning radio forever. That's really hard and very competitive. Talk radio is 1,000 times harder
easily
than anything I ever did.
Because if you get stumped, if you don't have calls or if you've got nothing to say, just play a song.
Play a song.
That's all.
And I remember the time, and so I want to make Alec Baldwin feel a little better about his stumbling and bumbling. When I was on WABC, and Stu, you were with me on this time, weren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. And I was on WABC, and we had planned for I was going to do 2 hours or 3 hours or something like that. As Stu will tell you, we prepped for every single word.
Yeah, we had no idea what we were doing at this point.
Right.
I know it sounds like we still don't, but back then we really
didn't. And what's weird is we sounded better then than we do now. But,
much.
So anyway, I walk in and I'm prepped for every single word, and I'm ready to go. Well, I said at the end of the hour, the third hour, I said, all right, see you next time, WABC New York. Bum, 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 from ABC News. And I'm unplugging my headphones, and the producer says in my ears, whoa, 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 we got another hour yet. I said, what? He said, you have another hour.
Oh.
And Stu was in the studio with me, and I said, I don't have anything else to talk about. I'm not prepared to talk about anything. And so we did the worst thing you could ever do. I said, all right, what is the thing that would get everybody to call? We'll just ride phone calls. What is the thing that we could do or talk about? And it was at the time where Sally Hemings, that whole Sally Hemings and Thomas Jefferson thing, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's good memory.
And so I said something like, Thomas Jefferson, in those days, Thomas Jefferson having sex with a slave was like having sex with a chair. He owned it. What difference?
That's the way he looked at it.
That's the way he looked at it. And so if he did, this is before the results came out, showed that it was not, but if he did, was that wrong in his age? Because the big wrong is slavery. You already bought into that. So what difference does it make? You're already in hell. And I'm just grasping at straws. And I said, here's the number of WABC, blah, 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 blah. And I look at Stu and okay, we dodged that bullet. Because all of the people lined up, and they were all making great points. I saw them being screened, and I'm like, oh, good. These are going to be great points. I play devil's advocate. This is great. And I go down to pick up the phone, and I put my finger on the phone, and I'm about to say, WABC, go ahead. And all the lines drop.
Every one of them.
Every single one.
Phone screen completely blank.
Yeah. And
why?
The phones crashed.
Phones crashed. Of course. They obviously would crash at that moment.
Right.
But we had nothing going on.
We are 12 minutes into an hour, and all of the phones crash. And I have an all Alec Baldwin moment. I'm like, hey, so, what's
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting?
So that's a phone number?
Phones.
Isn't that interesting?
That's a phone number.
That's interesting.
And they're like, take a break. And I'm like, back in a minute. Literally a minute, because we don't have any spots. So I'll be back in literally a minute. And we come back, no phones. The whole hour, no phones. Honestly, I got down to the last break. I don't even remember what we talked about. I blocked this from my memory. I don't even remember what we talked about for an hour. And this is before Stu was ever saying a word on the air or anything else. These are in the good days. And I got down to it, and I was reading a book. I don't even remember what it was. But I was reading a book on the train to New York. You remember this?
Yeah.
And I had a dog-eared from where I was. There was nothing in this book. There was nothing. I remember saying, you know what? And I'm thinking, what do I have to say? And I said, you know what? And I saw that book sitting on my desk, and I went, on the way in, I was reading this book. And I want to share something with you that I found. I literally opened it up to the dog-eared page. There was nothing highlighted. There was no good margin. Nothing written in it. It was just where I was reading.
And it sounded like you were making this, you know what? Forget this format. I'm going to read to you because I think it's important.
Yeah, and it was like, and I was trying to tie it into, there was nothing there. But I tried to make it sound like there is something important here in this book, and you're just too stupid to get it. You can't tie it together. You're just too dumb to get it. And I remember I read it, and I kept looking up the clock like, dear God, how many more paragraphs do I have to read? And that clock was just, it was like, tick. And I remember reading it, and I'm like, you know what? But that's all I have time for. I think you're going to have to take it from there. We'll see you again next time. Bum, 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 from ABC, New York. I was dying.
Oh, I remember looking up and seeing the guy who was running the board's face as we ended that hour. It was like, did that just happen on WABC?
What the hell was that all about? And so I learned my lesson that in talk radio, you better be prepared for absolutely anything.
Be brutal.
And over time, you know, that's the thing. Alec Baldwin and everybody else, they're actors, and they do their thing, and their specialty is that thing. Our specialty has to be whatever the world pitches our way. Mm-hmm. Whatever happens, you have to be prepared to talk about whatever happens right now and sound intelligent. So you better be really well read and be able to hold a conversation. When we first started doing talk radio, I couldn't do. It's hard. You try. Be in your house, and just as an exercise, try to talk and say something intelligently, something that is worth hearing for 4 minutes. Then do 12 minutes. Then do 41 minutes. You will find yourself going, I have nothing else. Yeah. Now, once you get into talk radio and you have done it for so long and you've learned enough about a lot of other things, you can learn how to talk. And now the problem is shutting you up. Now people go to places where good talk radio people are, and they're like, oh, can you shut him up? Because he goes for like 22 minutes, and then he'll like, give me 3 minutes, I'll be back in a minute. And then he goes for another 22 minutes. Which reminds me, I was reading this book when I came in. Our sponsor this